Tuesday by the president and senior members of the White House that Mr. Trump has contacted nearly every Gold Star family. This after a Pentagon document has surfaced that contradicts those claims. The Congressional Quarterly Roll Call has uncovered an exclusive email exchange between the White House and the Pentagon showing that not only had the president not contacted virtually all the families and military personnel killed this year, but that the White House did not even have an up-to-date list of those who had been killed and only recently started scrambling for a list of names and family contacts. Here's with more on this growing controversy is the reporter who broke this story, John Donnelly, senior writer and reporter for Roll Call. So John, tell us more about what these Pentagon documents reveal.
Well, you summarized it quite nicely. It was Tuesday morning that the president made the statement that virtually all the Gold Star families had been contacted. Later that same day, there was a back and forth between the White House and the Pentagon to obtain, as you pointed out, the names and the contact information, the phone numbers of the survivors of those who've been killed in the line of duty this year. So what it shows is that even as the president was making the statement, his staff was aware that it was probably not accurate, and there was a suggestion in the emails that the reason they needed to gather this information was that so that the president could start making some calls, presumably to make what was an untrue statement on Tuesday morning a true statement as soon as possible. That seems to be the implication from it. And I would add, the only reason that this matters is because the president claimed that he had made contact with virtually all the families. It wouldn't be a big deal if the president had simply said that he has made contact with some of the families. If he had said, as my predecessors have done. Instead, he acted as if he had contacted virtually all of them, and he tried to make it appear as if he was far better at this than anybody who'd come before him. This is sort of his classic modus operandi.
Yeah, and let's listen to what he said and what he told Fox Radio earlier this week.
I write letters, and I also call. Now, sometimes, if you had a tragic event with it, it's very difficult to be able to do that. But I have called, I believe everybody, but certainly I'll use the word virtually everybody.
Okay, so on one hand, he's saying that he writes letters, he calls, and on the other hand, he seems to say that he thinks he reaches out to everyone. It seems like he just didn't really know what the truth was.
Sounds like he knew that it wasn't 100%.
Right.
But again, and I guess you could say it wasn't necessarily a false statement if you're very generous with what the word virtually means. But anyway, the news organization, since he said that, have contacted numerous Gold Star families who have not been reached by the president, and so this shows that what he said on Tuesday was not right by any sort of common sense definition of the term contacting virtually everybody. But again, this is not a requirement for the president to call every family of the fallen, but he made the claim. And so, and then he made the suggestion that his predecessor, specifically President Obama, was not very good at it. And then further, he just can't seem to acknowledge if he says something that is wrong. Same with General Kelly. It would be real simple to say, I got it wrong. People would brush it off, but he kind of it's a self-inflicted wound is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of doubles down on it. I mean, there's no backtracking, there's no apologies here. Is there anything else that stood out to you looking at these documents and anything else you learned?
It's just, to me, it's not only, it illustrates something that I'm sure is happening over and over again virtually every day, which is a staff that is scurrying to try to fix what has come out of the president's mouth. With all due respect to him, he demonstrably has repeatedly made false statements. And so they have to sort of backfill and react and scramble. And so this is how things are happening in the White House right now.
And like you said, make an untruth a truth. I mean, there was the reporting this week about the father of a fallen soldier who had been promised $25,000 by the president earlier this summer. It was reported by the media. The White House said a check had been sent. It was only sent that day after the Washington Post reporting. So it's sort of this pattern of making an untruth a truth. John Donnelly, thank you for that important information.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, tonight,